Let's look at a few pointers for exiting the same foot lunge. And we're going to be using the open telemark, which is a common exit for the same foot lunge. When we're in the same foot lunge, obviously we're on the same foot, so there has to be a method of changing back. So we're going to use the and to accelerate our girl and move her onto the foot as we do an action, but not a step. Then I'll talk a little bit about one of the other figures that, Rich, I worked with you on the hinge line, coming out into a natural pivot. So we have very much the same thing happening there where we've gotten on the same foot for the picture line. We need to switch back, and we also need to adjust our body position. So one of these figures will be turning to the left, and one of the figures will be turning to the right on the exit. But it's the same idea in that there's an action that I need to create as the man to move the girl before I move myself. So this is very important in a lot of these advanced figures, and any picture line where we're on the same foot. We'll talk a little bit about your shapes again. I know we've covered this on the same foot lunge. So one of the things you might just keep in mind generally when we do a line on the right side, that our feet are in the third position, or when I take my movement to the side, my placement of the foot, it's roughly about the instep, which is what the third position is. In a way, you could think of putting a chair underneath your partner to allow her to find a place to put herself. Because when we go into picture lines, we're supporting our partner with the legs, with the thighs, as well as the body and the arms and the frame. And if I'm doing a line on the other side, I'm roughly in a third position, or the tango position with my left foot slightly forward. So that's where I might be on an oversway. Now, of course, you can take it too far and get that foot way out here and knock the girl out. But if it's perfectly straight across, then you're not quite inviting her into that chair. So just that to notice as you're going into your same foot lunge. Now, our center has got to be towards the lady. We often talk about this area here, the shelf, or the upper center, the higher center. But whenever I'm rotating this, you can see that the bones are also rotating. So I'm not trying to isolate that and rotate. So it's important to understand this turning of the bones. Commencing to turn. Commencing to turn does not always involve doing something in your feet as far as foot swivel, but it means the bones are moving in a direction. So you can see that the thighs, my knees, my shins, everything here is more or less facing the girl. Now obviously this is too far, but my feet have not turned in the room. So as we're setting up, what I'm doing here is I'm inviting her to take her leg back. What I've done here now to get the lady into position is I've slipped her inside my right leg. So we could think of this being sort of a left side to left side position instead of a right side to right side position. So I'm putting my left side to her and inviting her leg to move back. Now it's really important here that you don't do something like this, where the top center is falling off the base. So when you do move, this is one of the problems we were having, is that you were wanting to change your shape right away on the movement. And we can change it quickly if we're doing something fast, but we never learn things fast. We always do them slow first. And of course, there's a lot of musical opportunity here to take this nice and slow in a waltz. So make sure when you transfer the weight, that's basically all that you do, is prepare the leg, keep your head weight moving in the opposite direction. Now, don't let the arms tilt as much as the body. Always keep the arms more level than the shape of the body to give the girl support. Keep your head over to the left. So when I'm transferring my weight and putting the chair underneath the girl, I'm making sure that I haven't jostled and changed my top, or that I haven't overdone this. And another thing I want to mention here while you have a reference to look at, it's very important that you place your high center over your low center. Even though I have a shape to the left, I don't want the high center falling outside of the base. It's very easy to do on the same foot lunge by over bending and then creeping over there. Now she's trapped. I want her to feel that she's invited right into the chair. So even though I have a shape to the left, my high center is still over my balance. And when I'm transferring the weight, I still have that curve, but I'm making sure that this is on top of my base, not here. So at this point, I've taken her in with her head open. This way. My lady at this point would be going in with her right leg, and I'm inviting her lower spine to move back in order that she can easily move into it. A lot of the ladies are already going in, falling with their upper body. So it's important you have that little hinge to give her that sense. So keeping this fairly level, I'm doing quite a big shape there with my body, level top, transferring both centers, but with the left shape. Now, I would like to, in the music, change her head. I'm going to rotate my base. Don't take it too far, you'll dump her right out. But you're rotating slightly leftward. You can think of the right thigh coming forward. Sometimes I say the right hip, but some of the men then will push their hip forward. So you must move your thigh forward or increase the angle of the shin with the ankle. And at that point then you can look towards your lady. Again, be careful of over breaking. And then I'm going back the other way. Now you see all that is happening through the base, and my free leg is allowed to move. I'm always supporting the low side, not letting that break. So I want to be back here in order to do a reverse action from here. I'm back in my original position, facing her with my center and looking to the left. Now watch this leg. This is important that you get more activity through here. I'm not going to twist my foot, but as I move my weight onto the other foot on one, this is and, I'm going to reshape my leg. So what was happening is we were coming out, you see, without turning the leg bones. Walking away from your leg. Now we've got that picture. I hate to even demonstrate that, but I have to show you that. So this is and. I'm thinking of moving her out from her base first. I want her foot to slip in there. And one. It feels like a rebounding because I've got to keep energy in my legs. I've got to feel as though I'm the chair with the spring in it, and her weight is in that chair, and I'm going to spring her out. I don't have time to park here. I don't want to have a driving, strong heel lead. That's a very soft flick of the foot, or a soft heel lead, just barely, very softly into a telemark. So the and is a very strong body action, and as soon as you feel the lady moving, you follow her out. So what happens here, just the guys can tend to be too aggressive. They can try to move on the and, or they can try to move exactly with her. I'll have this feeling of ti-ta, right? Her, bounce her, move her, follow her. So there's my last line. Here goes the girl. Strong pronating of the knee toward the inside, slipping her in, adjusting for her to come back into closed position. Soft heel, reshaping my leg. One, and then on into the telemark. So let me just go through those three shapes again, a little bit faster, but making each of them clean. So position one, transferring without changing shape. Change the shape, change the head, change the shape, change the head, and 1, 2. Now you can make those shapes a little bit bigger and of course blend them. I can do 2 bars in the same foot lunge, or I can do 1. I'm going to do this in 1 bar. Now that's assuming you've practiced it enough that you can do those 3 shapes clean, quickly. So I'm going in on 1. 1, 2, 3, and 1. So if I'd like to take more time, I could go in very slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. That may be what you would like to do while you're learning it. But be careful when you're blending it that you understand clearly what the main shapes are. Now, one of the questions that the girls often ask about is, what about the lady's right heel in the same foot lunge? Is that heel up or is that heel down? In a contra check, that heel must be up. Now, there are some exceptions where the man takes the lady very, very far in that her heel could come down, but normally it's not. In the same foot lunge, this depends on a lot of factors. Usually when you have the lady in the initial shape, sometimes the lady will feel comfortable placing the heel on the floor. The man has put her into that heel, and the size of the partnership, we're able to stay together well. But we could have a problem where she sinks, and in that case, she would want to press her heel up. What can also happen is the lady may be placed into the heel here, but when you change the shape, in order to keep her hip line up, she'll have to raise her heel to do the closed head position. So it's very much like the question that's often asked on the progressive link in tango. Should the lady's heel touch the floor in the link? This again depends very much on how the man dances the link. So the turn that the lady makes is always on the ball of the foot. But I've seen a lot of ladies have a very stiff foot and not have a flexible, pliable foot, that her weight is being received into the leg. Often I find that my heel kisses the floor, comes right back up. So I must not turn on my heel. I must not have the weight driven strong into the heel, but it's possible that my heel may kiss the floor, or I may not quite get there, but if my foot is flexible, there may be a little space under my heel and I'm still able to absorb my weight into the foot. So in the end, we need to partner with each other, and the lady needs to be able to keep her center properly up and connected to the man, but she needs to have flexibility in her foot and ankle to be able to achieve what the man is asking her to do. So as a man, I'm not really thinking about trying to make her do something there with her feet. I'm of course looking for her to be nicely connected here to the inside of my leg and to be responsive to the action. And then she should realize that her base is active. So when she's going in, she needs to keep her center moving, right? And if the man has her in this position, then her head will be open or to the right. And then if he rotates his body to the left and rotates his right thigh, then her head will close, and she will feel that she needs to press her hips up and then come back. And of course, I can't do that very well without a partner because it's quite a big twist. We do need each other's bodies to help. So in the end, each couple needs to work with this on their own. But important points again, place the low center, make sure the high center, though it's shaped, is still on top. Make sure you're not doing the shapes only from the top. There's activity downstairs. It's time to come out on the and. Don't rush her. Follow her out. So let's go to the hinge. Now when you do the hinge, you're on the other foot. And we had a point line there, and the lady now, she's done a whisk action and pointed her foot out. So we both have our right foot free again. So when I want to bring her out, I'll need to move her to her right foot, and then she can move around me if we're going to dance the natural pivot, which is what we talked about. So what I have to do again now, I have to actively pronate my left knee in over the big toe, rotate this chair that I gave her. The chair is now on the left side. So again, I've got to swing my girl. So I'm turning through the legs, but I'm also using my upper body and my arms, and then flicking to the foot, and again, reshaping my free leg and it can move out into the pivot. So again, on the hinge, if that is 3, and you may like to say and, she's putting her foot in the back on the 3 and lowering into the and count. Sometimes the ladies will ask, well, should I take a heel lead? The heel lead does not make sense out of either of these actions. It's not a driving step. In both cases, the lady is in a line where she's shaped backward, and when I was talking to you about bringing her out, let's say from the same foot lunge, in my mind I'm thinking of moving her gravity center out first. I'm not trying to move her top out. So although I'm rotating here, I'm aware that I need to get that base moving. So she's in a bit of a laid out position there. And this is not a true forward step. It doesn't have any forward drive. It's forward and rotating. So I'm just slipping and then moving back into my heel turn. So it would be an ugly thing to do, have a lovely line with the front foot and then try to go on the heel. It doesn't feel natural to do that. So it's better for the lady to use her toe here. So then if we're in the hinge line, basically we're getting the foot change and getting me started into the pivot, or the pivoting action in this case, because I'm going forward. This question comes up also on développés and also in the American style. Now you could dance a développé, come down and then do a soft heel. It's very risky though, because we see a lot of this. So I usually advise the girls, if they're in a développé, to come down on the toe. Of course, this could depend what we're doing next. And if the toe arrives on the floor, and then she gets a soft heel exiting a figure, that's always fine, but it's rare that it's perfectly articulated. So there are a lot of these little nuances that are good to cover from time to time. So I hope that covers some of the questions. I wanted to provide a visual of how much rotation you can get through your legs and hips without foot turn, because it's very, very important, especially these actions now we're getting into with lines where we have to leverage the bodies, send the lady first, and many times we're not stepping at the same time as our girl. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit more next week. I'm sure there will be some questions.